Hello, hello. Happy Friday, or whatever day of the week it is when you're watching this. I am curious. I'm curious about something. When was the last time that you woke up feeling exhausted, even after a full night's sleep? And I'm not talking about when you wake up in the middle of the night, like I talked about a couple weeks ago on one of these. I'm talking about when you've actually had a really good night's sleep and you still wake up exhausted. Or maybe you've caught yourself saying under your breath, "Oh, I need a vacation." I can't count how many times I've said that in the past. But then you take a vacation, and 2 days after getting back home and getting back into your routine, you still feel exactly the same, exhausted. What if the problem isn't that you're tired? What if it's that you're actually burnt out? I'm going to share with you how to tell the difference today and give you a really quick exercise that you can do to help you not reach that burnout stage so quickly next time or even ever. Before we dive in, though, tell me in the comments, how are you feeling today? Just give me one word. Fantabulous. That's me, by the way. That's how I'm feeling. But how are you feeling? You feel great? Exhausted? Tired? Overwhelmed? Happy? Tell me in the comments because the chances are you're not the only one feeling that way, however it is that you're feeling. I remember right after my divorce, right when actually the girls started living with me full time, I remember feeling so incredibly tired all the time. And I thought it was just because I wasn't getting enough sleep. I was working full time as a nurse. I was going part to school part time for my nurse practitioner license, raising my girls as best that I could, trying to survive being a single parent, along with all the other things that were getting hit at me at the time. And I was constantly putting everyone else first. Everyone else first. And I kept telling myself, I just need to get through this week. I just need to get through this week. And not even this week. I just need to get through this day. I just need to get through the day. And then maybe after this week, it'll get better. Or maybe after the vacation that I take my girls to California for, things will start improving. But what I didn't realize at that time, until now when I'm looking back several years later, those things weren't because I was tired. I was in survival mode from being burnt out, from just burning from both ends. And it wasn't that I was lazy or weak or unmotivated. I was just at a place where my body had simply been living, like I said, in survival mode for so long that I didn't even remember what feeling calm felt like. So, again, looking back, I wasn't just tired, I was burnt out. And that's what happens when you burn from both ends of the match, burn from both ends of the candle, however you want to say it. When you burn from both ends, you eventually get to the middle and there's nothing left to burn and you're burnt out. Have you ever have you ever taken time off and when you come back you're still feeling exhausted? Put a yes in the comments if that's happened to you. I can bet there's many of you that that's happened to. So now how do you actually know the difference from if you're just tired or if you're actually burnt out? First of all, it's important to know that rest doesn't fix it. Being tired means that you take a nap if you need to. You go to bed a little bit earlier and you wake up feeling refreshed. You're recharged. You feel better. Burnout is a lot different. You can sleep, you can take a nap, you can take all the vacations in the world, and you come back and you're still feeling exhausted. The reason for that is because your brain is constantly scanning for danger. That's its job, to keep us safe. And when stress becomes chronic, your nervous system gets stuck in this protection phase where it's constantly scanning for danger, like I said, trying to protect you instead of restoring you, which is what it's meant to do, which is what it needs to do. So it's not that you're lacking motivation. Your brain is simply conserving its energy because it believes that you are under constant threat. And I talked about this a couple weeks ago. So, what's one thing you can do if you feel that burnout might be the case instead of just being tired? Name what you're feeling. Research has shown that simply labeling our emotions reduces the activity in our brain's alarm center, and it increases the activity in the prefrontal cortex, which is the part of the brain that helps you think clearly and creatively and helps you make intentional decisions. So instead of just saying, I'm fine, we women like to say that. Try saying, I'm exhausted. I'm mentally exhausted. Or I am emotionally overloaded. Or even I'm feeling disconnected. When you can name it, it creates an awareness. And that awareness is where change can start to happen. So now I'm curious, how many of you have said, I'm fine when you're really not? Raise your hand if you have. I know there's some of you out there. I remember saying that on the way home from a trip a couple years ago. I definitely was not fine, but I sat there and I stewed. And had I just named out loud how I was feeling, I can bet I would have gotten into a calm spot a lot faster. How else do you know that it's burnout versus just being tired? Because everything feels harder than it should. And what I mean by that is like little things suddenly become huge mountains that you have to climb. Someone asking one more question, and now your phone is ringing. Dinner needs to be made. Laundry's piling up. You get another email that you have to respond to. One more decision. And your capacity to be able to handle that starts shrinking and getting smaller and smaller. Again, that part of your brain, that prefrontal cortex, the part that's responsible, like I said, for your decision making, for planning, for the emotional regulation that we need, it works less efficiently when it's under chronic stress. And that's why simple decisions all of a sudden feel incredibly overwhelming. It isn't because you're failing, it's because your brain has got too much on its mind, no pun intended. It's overloaded. So how do we Hack into that. Reduce your decisions. This is why routines matter. I just started time blocking things that I need to do, like physically putting them in my calendar, and it has taken so much decisional capacity off my brain because my computer, my calendar, my phone, wherever I have that calendar, it's telling me now, you got to work on this. So I don't need to keep it up here because it's out there and it'll remind me. Routines, getting yourself into a morning routine or even meal planning and habit stacking, stacking habits onto things that you already are doing. All these things, these simple things that you can be doing, help free up that mental energy so that your brain doesn't have to be deciding all day long. So I'm curious, which one drains you more? Making decisions all day or taking care of everyone else? And then the third way that you start to recognize that it's burnout instead of just being tired, and this is the biggest one, you become reactive. You get short-tempered. You start yelling, or you get numb and forgetful. Withdraw yourself from conversations or people that normally help fill your cup. You are overly emotional. And then one day you just look in the mirror and you're like, who is this person staring back at me? You don't even recognize yourself. When your nervous system spends too much time in fight, flight, or freeze, those responses become your brain's default settings. And your brain isn't choosing them because they're helpful for you that day. It's choosing them, it's repeating them because they've been reinforced over time. So it's just what your body knows, what your nervous system knows. But the encouraging part to that is that our brains are capable of change. At any age of our life, our brains are capable of change. And through neuroplasticity, if you haven't heard me talk about this before, it's when you repeat moments of awareness, like we're talking about today, and can intentionally regulate, that strengthens the pathways in your brain, which allows you to have calmer responses that will become more automatic over time. That's how incredible our brains are, because they are capable of changing. So how do you hack into this? How do you hack into start feeling like yourself again? You want to interrupt the pattern before you react. So instead of immediately reacting to something, pause, step back, take a big, deep breath, a slow breath in through your nose and a longer exhale out through your mouth. And then look around the room. These are all things that you can be doing that doesn't take money or extra time. Look around the room and name 5 things that you see. Just taking that simple pause and breathing and identifying those 5 things that you see that are right around you, it gives your thinking brain a chance to come back online, that prefrontal cortex, before your survival brain, the amygdala, that puts you into that fight, flight, or freeze. Say that 10 times real fast. That part of your brain switches off and it allows that prefrontal cortex time to come back online. Now, I promised you a little exercise that you can do to help you recognize where you're at on the scheme of things so that you don't go so quickly into burnout, or maybe even this could prevent you from ever going back into burnout again. And I actually am teaching this inside my Overwhelm Reset Challenge. But it's called the traffic light. I can't talk. The traffic light exercise. Green, green means go, right? When you're driving. So green for your feel how you're feeling, your exhaustion level. I'm feeling really well. I'm thinking clearly. Nothing's nothing's dragging me down. I'm connecting all the dots. I have lots of energy. Yellow, that's when you got to start slowing down when you're driving. Yellow is the same thing with how we're feeling. Oh, I'm noticing I'm starting to get a little irritable. Or I'm not taking care of myself like I normally would. I skipped my morning routine. I'm agreeing to do things that I normally wouldn't do. Those are in the yellow zone. And when you've reached the red zone, you're already snapping at your coworkers or your spouse or your kids. You're starting to shut down. Tears might swell up in your eyes when one more thing gets asked of you, and everything just feels incredibly heavy. That's the red zone. That's when you got to stop. The goal isn't to avoid being in the yellow or the red zone, because life happens. That's inevitable. The goal is to notice that you're getting into the yellow zone before you reach the red zone. And being aware of where you're at gives you the opportunity to be able to respond differently before burnout takes over. So, again, tell me in the comments, where would you put you today? Where would you put yourself today? Are you in the green, yellow, or red? So, if you've learned anything today, I hope it's that burnout isn't a character flaw. It isn't because you're weak or because you need to push harder. Your brain and your body are trying to tell you something. And the sooner that you can listen to them, the sooner you can start feeling like yourself again. So if this has resonated with you, I'm doing an overwhelm reset challenge actually in a couple days where we're going to work through why you're so overwhelmed, along with the stories that drain your energy, and give you ways to be able to love your life again without the burnout. So if that is something you're interested, comment overwhelm so I can get you the information. And I have just one last question for you before we wrap up today. I'm curious what hit home the most. One, rest doesn't fix burnout. Two, everything feels harder. Or three, you just don't feel like yourself anymore. And then put a one, two, or three in the comments so I know which one hit home for you today. And until next time, choose one thing that you can do today that your future self will thank you for.